gira del barrio Latina se irá en unos minutos. Tonight only, the fabulous Maclovia Ruiz will be performing at La Fiesta nightclub, the most acclaimed Latin dancer in the world, one night only.
Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Good evening. Buenas noches, gente. Gentlemen and ladies, señoras y señoritas. I know there's beautiful women out there, and there are some men who wish they were beautiful women too. My dear turistas from the distant borders of Daly City and beyond, welcome and thank you. Thank you for joining us here on our tour on Broadway, highlighting the many nightclubs in North Beach, aka La Playa Norte. I, Agapito Manglar, exclusive agent for the Latin Quarter Tours, will guide you for the next 43.5 minutes or so as we cruise down memory lane and recover the lost history of North Beach. But first, a disclaimer. This is my very first tour, so please don't panic. I am well equipped with maps, guidebooks, and guidance from the stars, and my notebook. So we are fully insured, and if we get lost, we will eventually, at some point, maybe, hopefully, find our way back. Y ahora con trompetas. Esta noche van a conocer el barrio latino como jamás lo han conocido. Las calles, los cabarets, los chismes, all of it, and all at once. Van a conocer la dama más famosa, la niña más querida del barrio de Playa Norte, que se presentará esta misma noche en la Fiesta Cabaret. For those of you who are still learning Spanish like myself, I just wished our San Francisco Seals lots of luck this season as they open up their season over at Seal Stadium on 16th and Bryant. Tickets on sale soon. Now, all jokes aside, our story starts like most stories, with a woman. It is 1826. The landscape is rich with oaks and wildlife, streams filled with salmon and sturgeon as long as the stage swim the delta. Baloney villages and shell mounds dot the shoreline of the bay. Mexican woman, Juana Briones, is the first non-indigenous person to build a house and make a home here in the little pueblito known then as Hierba Buena. That means the good herb. It's not the good herb you're thinking of. You know, good herb, mint. It grew all over the place. So, right out here on the corner of Filbert and Powell in the heart of North Beach is where her sturdy house stood, made of gold. And, of course, at that time, the bay had come up right to where Francisco Street is now, so this area was practically a beach. And on this beach, Juana Briones interacted with merchants, cured sailors, and held her own in a male-dominated society. Pretty cool. The area was known as Juana Briones' Beach, and she thrived in her ranch business in spite of being illiterate. And one could say that San Francisco was founded by a Mexican woman. Right? Now, let me bring you back from the time machine back here to Broadway in the heart of North Beach in what is known as
Playa Norte.
There we go. All right, the Latin Quarter Tour can also take you to other places besides North Beach. I mean, we can head down to El Ranchito on Market Street where there's 2 floors of entertainment and dancing, a mariachi band, authentic Mexican food and beer, and tequila. Come on. At the Richelieu Casino, we have the Hurtado Brothers and their world-famous marimba band where the smart crowd gathers to listen to this fine music and watch the gorgeous Latin ladies in this dazzling floor show. Beat my heart like a conga drum, baby. And over at the Cuban room, we have Benny Velarde and his combo, and they play every night till 2 a.m. Or is that every morning? Well, here in North Beach, we can take you to the house that Jack built on Grant Avenue, where the bartender, Rogelio Torres, is the very first person to create wild and exotic cocktails with his secret recipes like the charm. howling for the shady lady. Over at Joaquin Gare's Copacabana, we have Maria in her pepper pot mood doing the sizzling dance, Bride of Shango. You just have to see her do the sacrifice dance. Oh, the seething, fiery rumba. At first, she picks a member of the audience, I mean, hopefully a Republican, right? And she brings him on the stage and lays him down on top of a tail. And then, in front of a startled audience, in front of everyone, she rips his heart out and she eats it. I'm kidding. How about the Sandia part? And now on the other side of Broadway, we have the happiest clubs in town. The getaway begins, right? Over at the Black Cat or Pinocchio's, where Mr. Reader Richards does his female impersonation of Betsy Gable, Betty Boop, and Betsy Ross, and all at the same time. And for this one night only at La Fiesta, the fabulous Maclovia Ruiz will be performing live and in person, the most incredible dancer this side of the Atlantic and Pacific, and that is an understatement, folks. The San Francisco Chronicle says that Miss Ruiz is tall, and dark, and, oh boy, exotic, and a marvelous dancer. And across the continent, the New York Times says that Miss Ruiz is an artist with her feet, her hands, her castanets, an amazing actress. Every emotion of her dance being expresses clearly, unmistakably. And we're going to throw in a 6-course dinner for $2.45, including tax, because who wants to pay tax? Not even the president pays taxes, so why should you? Still got you. Maclovia's story starts in Guadalajara, Jalisco. It's 1910. Maclovia is in such a hurry to get on stage that she's born premature. And you can say that she's born dancing, and even at the age of 2. Whenever her father plays music on his radio or on his record player, she instinctively started moving, swinging her body to the beat, knowing already how to interpret music through movies. Now, she's 5 years old when the family immigrates to San Francisco's North. At that time, the heart of the Latino barrio. It was a different world in San Francisco. The people seemed poorer. And even her father, instead of being that playful figure she'd known, he became more serious and inward. And this would affect the young Maclovia. And that wasn't all. I mean, you can imagine, everyone laughed at her because she only spoke Spanish. Culture shock of the very first degree. And let me remind you, and myself, that San Francisco is Spanish. Otherwise, it would be called St. Francis. Now, unfortunately, depression struck. Her dear mother, who worked sewing lingerie for Macy's, took her to a dance school, which shall remain anonymous to protect the guilty. And then what happened?
I remember I went, and the teacher reprimanded me because she felt that I was too dark, too dirty looking, and she had me washed. She took me by the hand and made me go wash myself because she felt that I was too dark, too dirty looking.
Cool. So, there's a question of skin. How you're looked at, how you're treated, or mistreated, how you love and are loved. But you can't just wash away your skin and bleach it, though you may. It's still all you have to be comfortable in it, to glory in who you are and what you can do, knowing and believing that you can do it better than anyone else. So her mother tried again at a different school, dressed her in her very best clothes, with a big bow on her head. But the teacher again said, I cannot accept her. No reason why. And so, when everything seemed lost, of all people, her father took her to this dance studio, and he asked the teacher straight up if she would accept a Mexican student. The teacher, Lenore Peters, said, oh, we don't care who you are here, as long as you're passionate about dancing. And nobody was as passionate about dancing as Maclovia. Lenore Peters taught at the Anita Peters Wright School, and it was here that Maclovia learned interpretive dancing, and not just the spontaneous movements she usually created when she danced. So, the next few years, until she was 18 years old, 3 times a week to practice, in the studio with classical music, Debussy, Chopin, Saint-Saëns, a lot of Brahms. And in no time, Maclovia Ruiz was the leading dancer with the school. And Lenore would verbalize an image, and Maclovia would interpret it. Lenore Peters even created special dances for her alone, like the one called the Sunflower. Maclovia would interpret the story of the sunflower and how this flower always followed the sun. It was all image-based, more about the feeling in the dance. So Maclovia was never taught steps per se, but rather she interpreted what she felt, whether it was a rumba or a ballet. It was the feeling that counted, the duende, as it were. Now her father, he also loved dancing and music, and he taught her the tango and the idea of the tango, what the dancer should feel when she dances. He also taught her to be proud and haughty and flirtatious, so that when she danced, many people thought that she was older than she was because she was moving and flirting like a woman. Even how she held her hands, so sensuous-like, she learned that because of her father. Society ladies would sip tea, Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. It was founded in 1889, which is just right up the street on Broadway. Had a little basement. It was like this little club that served beer with a small stage, and that's where Maclovia started performing to earn extra money for the family. So then, her father urged her onto the vaudeville stages here in North Beach. These were little movie houses that in between movies, they had these little acts like a dance from Maclovia. And the money was a lot better. The $5 she made per dance was equivalent to that of what a working man made in 1 week. And vaudevillians, they knew a lot of stage secrets. And she learned everything, all the elements for a great performance. How to have presence and charisma, how to present herself, and even how to bow at the end of a show.
Yeah.
It's like this scene. It's like a star that shines around you. But you have to show the public that you have that. You just don't go, you just do this. By performing, by being on stage. You just don't go and do your little dance. You come on dancing. And your opening has to be really strong. And then you start to diminish. And how you diminish, it's like a painting. You have the shadow, you have the light, And this is how you keep the interest in the people.
So, with a promise to dance in New York City, Maclovia set off with a big apple, ignoring the advice of a gym teacher who wanted her to go to Stanford, to which she'd been accepted and was on her way to study physical therapy. Right?
Anyway, I have always had the attitude, so why not go ahead and try?
Though she did dance briefly with the Xavier Cruz Orchestra at the Waldorf Astoria, she was soon back in North Beach. In fact, we are on the very streets that Maclovia walked on her return from New York. It was truly a back and forth time in her life. I tried to find her place, a classical dancer or a nightclub dancer. So the next few years, she would live in Hollywood, and she was an extra in movies like Ramona, The Golden Follies, and Tropical Holiday. She also studied with Rita Hayworth's husband, Eduardo Cancino, who taught her interpretive dance, like De Falla's Fire Dance and Francisco Terrega's Recuerdos de la Alhambra. And from there, it was just a hop, skip, and a jump to Tijuana and the stylish resort of Agua Caliente, and then back to Hollywood for the occasional small bits in movies. City, where Antonio Ruiz Soler, the most famous flamenco dancer of the time, he saw her dancing, and he liked what he saw. Antonio had been dancing with his sister Rosario since he was 4 years old. He was the very essence of Spanish dance. Its biggest star, and yet barely 20 years old. But for the present, Maclovia was still a struggling artist. Till that fateful night when everything changed. It happened at a benefit for the San Francisco Ballet Performance School. Maclovia was asked to dance something for the audience, anything she wanted. Well, the Latin lady knocked them off their feet with her entrance honed on the vaudeville stage, her appearance, and the way she held her head, and how she just danced with feeling, emotion, clearly enjoying it. And she entered doing a rumba at a ballet school. Her performance was so strong that the director of the opera ballet, Adolphe Baum, formerly of the Ballet Russe, says, "Oh my God, you've got to do the Copio." And that's how Maclovia Ruiz became the lead dancer in the opera ballet's Copio production. And it is that very performance that launches a new star. And for those of you who were around then and don't lie, this was the December 2nd, 1935. Maclovia is 25 years old. So, another trip to New York, where she studied at the School of American Ballet, which was led at the time by the great George Balanchine. Yeah, famous choreographer handpicked Maclovia to be the lead in 2 dances he created for her, Carmen and Lakme, which she performed at the Metropolitan Opera House and years later at Carnegie Hall. But why not Swan Lake, Giselle, or Romeo and Juliet, you might ask? Well, perhaps her sweet brown skin would stand out too much. Break the line? Now, when Balanchine takes the group to Hollywood, Maclovia is not part of his company, and so is soon back in New York, where many years after first meeting Antonio, he would hire Maclovia for his famous dance company. And when he mentioned that he'd seen Maclovia dance years before,
What did you took me back then, when you saw me dancing?
the premier Spanish dancer of his time replies, "Well, to tell you the truth, you were so powerful and so strong. I was afraid that I would be overshadowed by your charisma, and that's why I didn't ask you to join the company. Until now, I realize." So, this great Spanish dancer finally feels that he is equal to Maclovia. Right? Now, with Antonio, his sister, Rosario, and his company, Maclovia would serve Mexico, South America, Cuba, and Central America. And sometimes they danced in elegant theaters. Other times, like in Costa Rica, the stage was so bad that Maclovia twisted her ankle during a leap because when she landed, her foot went right through the floor. So, it wasn't all glamour. And she often slept in cheap hotels because, though she was with Antonio's company, he didn't offer contracts, but instead, you got paid for only when you danced. Now, Antonio, like many other dancers, was temperamental, but he was also very generous with his passion, and he projected it to others. And he never told Maclovia how to dance any other way than how she danced naturally, with her own duende. And Antonio would say things like, "Maclovia, you are the type of dancer who I could never tell you what to do because everything you do, your head, your arms, your body, when I ask you to do a step that I created for you, you do it so perfectly that I don't ever have to tell you what to do." Antonio, who was from Madrid, he choreographed many dances for Maclovia. And perhaps the most famous was Leyenda del Beso. writes this letter to Maclovia. It reads in part, I always remember you in el baile de los collares. It has never been done better. Now they are doing it in Maria Rosa's company, which does a lot of my choreographies, old and new. Antonio closes with, ¿Te vienes? Algún día tendremos otra copa con los bailarinos. De acuerdo.
Telegram! Telegram!
Speak.
Telegram for you! Telegram for you! This is yours. Telegram
I'll take
for
that.
Ruiz.
I'll take that. This is way before Twitter, but I'll tell you this much. Chisme is faster.
What kind of name is Mac anyway? What am I supposed to call her? Hey Mac? Hey Fleetwood Mac? What is this?
It all depends on the phrasing, kid. Maclovia, like the name of a flower. Or use the alliteration. Mi Maclovia mamacita. Or romántico. Maclovia. Get it? Anyway, here's a nickel for your troubles. Don't spend it all in one place.
Maclovia!
I hope that kid don't fall down. Alright, let's see here. Western Union, May 8th, 1944, Maclovia Ruiz. Sick. Fort Worth Hotel, Fort Worth, Texas. There is urgent need of acts for immediate overseas assignments. Stop. This is your one great opportunity to do the most important job ever offered the theatrical profession. Stop. Need you for 6 months assignment with important units. Stop. All expenses paid from time leave New York until return, plus your present salary with no interruptions in pay. Stop. Please wire confirmation. Collect regards to USO Camp Shows Incorporated. Here you go. All right. Let's see where we are. Though she didn't perform overseas, she did tour military bases in the Deep South, such as Camp Toccoa in Georgia, the Atlanta Ordnance Depot, and Tuskegee Airfield in Alabama. Places where her dark skin wouldn't stand out so much. Where she could blend in. And just a side note for all you veterans of these endless wars, nearly 750,000 Mexican-American, Puerto Rican, and Latin and Spanish surnames served in World War II. Including my Uncle Augie, who was drafted at 18 by the Marines and saw combat in Okinawa and Iwo Jima. Of the Latinos that served, 13 would earn the Medal of Honor. Now, let's get back to the present. The time is 1953, and San Francisco is a wide open town. And North Beach, my dear turistas from Daly City and beyond, is the most happening spot on the West Coast. Hipper than LA and way cooler than New York. And what is it that makes it so hip? Fabulous floor shows, strip clubs, drag clubs, and Latin nightclubs in North Beach make it the mecca to meet your Latin neighbors, practice Spanish, and to learn the mambo. And all the main attractions are the females of these dark continents. And to top it off, tonight, Maclovia Ruiz is making her return to the stage after a 5-year absence. After touring with Antonio and his company and performing for the King and Queen of Spain and Prince Rainier of Monaco. And everywhere she goes, she is acclaimed as the greatest dancer of Latin and Spanish styles. So she moves back to San Francisco to raise her son as a single mom. Okay? Now, let me fast forward us to the future. Though tonight, Maclovia is the star at La Fiesta nightclub, another buzz is already brewing. Finger-popping daddies and cool chicks digging poetry and borrowing the Bass Beret for their headgear are popping up all around North Beach, digging the bohemian vibes, seeing the neighborhood as a cool place to bop. And in the near future, the Latin Quarter will have new neighbors like City Lights Blues, Cafe Trieste, and the Hungry Eye nightclub. And these youngsters, later known as the Beats, make North Beach their home turf. The neighborhood become world-renowned for its bohemian culture, with the Latin beat slowly fading, and now almost gone from memory. Except for those OGs that still recall the Kermés at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, for those who know a bronze plaque in Washington Square honoring the memory of Juan Abriones. And soon enough, the Mexican and Latino community of North Beach will be forced out. First over to the Rincon Hill area, and then later to the Mission District. The Church of Our Lady of Guadalupe, right off Broadway, where Maclovia first danced in the basement, would be closed for years and was recently sold to developers who will turn the church into, and hold on to your Ubers now, condoms. Sorry, I meant condos. First word. So, anyways, now, after the white flight of the 1950s emptied the Mission, and after Latinos revitalized the Mission District, businesses, murals, and music, they are now being forced out once again by rapacious developers and so-called hipsters. Though, we call them lamesters. At least, that's what I to call them. And this, folks, brings us right back to where our tour started. Any last words for us, Maclovia, before your opening set tonight?
Fame is really ugly in a way. People are like bees. They come around you and praise you and love you, and you think this will go on forever. But the minute you're no longer doing it, they go away, and you're left completely alone. And you just vanish.
Gracias, Maclovia. Yet you have not vanished. Tonight we have resurrected your story, your setbacks, hopes, triumphs. We recall your amazing rhythm and beauty to die for. And believe me, men and women fell in love with her. In the barrio, they still call her La Más Chingona. And that, gentlemen and ladies, caballeros y finas damas, sin más tilín tilín, como la botella en la canción, llegamos al fin. That's the end of our tour. I hope you enjoyed the story of Maclovia Ruiz, the Latin Quarter, and the missing beat of San Francisco. And don't forget to tell all your friends and family to join us for our other tours in North Beach and all over town with your host, Agapito Manglar. Thank you so much again for joining us. And we'll see you all again sometime on a Latin Quarter tour.
I forgot to add something. Excuse me, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm not. Good evening. But I forgot to add this piece. So keep your hats on, huh? There's this addendum.
Hey, an addendum?
Yeah.
I have to buy. Tomorrow I have work.
I'll keep this really brief, okay? So what happened was, when I was researching the story of Maclovia, I discovered that when she was already retired, she saw an ad in a local newspaper that needed a dancer for a senior citizen center up on Potrero Hill. Yeah. And Maclovia, being Maclovia, said, Maclovia, being Maclovia, said,
Why not me?
thank you, Claudia. And she got the job. And it was under the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act, CETA, that had also just hired me to teach poetry to the youth in the Mission District.
Oh, really?
strange way, fate and destiny combined so that one day I would tell the story of this fabulously talented Mexicana who overcame so many setbacks and challenges to dance herself to the very top of her profession. Of course, tonight is merely a pretense, an attempt, however modest, and it is modest, to bring to life an archive, to recover the story and history of Maclovia Ruiz through scrapbooks, oral histories, notes, faded photographs, and scraps of memory. And unlike so many of our stories that have been lost, the story and history of Maclovia archive is preserved at the Museum of Performance and Design. And there's other stories waiting for someone to recover our past, to reclaim our history, to reaffirm our lasting legacy in this place. Because we are all, in a way, descendants of that first woman, Juana Briones, who built the first house and founded this city when the bay waters came up to where Washington Square is now, and which was then known as Juana Briones' Beach. And now, of course, they call it North Beach. Yeah. Y bueno, pues, ahora sí, como dijo Rafael Hernández, caminando se hace el camino. Y sin más cocotín, cotín, llegamos. Más o menos.
Más que menos.
Al fin.
On New Year's Eve of 2005.
Wow.
At the sweet age of 95.
Wow.
And heaven itself went wild when she entered doing a rumba. Who would have thought a rumba in heaven?
Yeah.
¿Vienes? Algún día tendremos otra copa de los bailarines. De acuerdo.
De acuerdo.